Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Ben Olson, that's Nathan Fox. Together we're the founders of LSATdemon.com and the Thinking LSAT podcast. This email was sent into us from Madison, I guess, and it's an email that she got from LSAC. Hey, Ben and Nathan, I would love to hear your thoughts about this update on the show, this update from LSAC. It seems like they're going to be very strict about being back at your computer before the 10-minute break is over. Okay, wordy as always, LSAC begins. Dear Madison, you are receiving this communication because, according to our records, you are currently registered for the August administration of the LSAT. Okay. I'm sure Madison was deeply concerned about why she was getting this email from LSAC.
Why she was receiving this communication.
We want to take this opportunity to update you on some important changes in procedures for the exam. Again, useless.
They could have just said like, hey, you're registered for August. Here's what's up.
Do you even need to say that? Like, you're registered for August? Not. People know that, right? Like, they're like way more sensitive to the fact that they're registered for the test than LSAC is sensitive to their
I like this third sentence in that first paragraph.
It is imperative that you read this information carefully, as it will have a direct effect on your LSAT testing experience.
But the whole thing is it's a mile long. And part of why it's so long is them telling you how imperative it is that you read it because it's going to have a direct effect. It's like, okay, but no one's going to get to the actual news. So what is the news here?
Why are they so worried?
I don't know. They're lawyers.
The title, now we're getting a title for this email in the middle of the email. Important information about the new 10-minute intermission. Okay. As previously announced, the August administration of the LSAT will return to our pre-COVID practice of including an unscored section that will allow us to validate new test questions for future use and ensure that they are free from any form of bias.
Bullshit. Ensure that they are free from any form of bias. What? You can't make that claim. How do you know? Wow, I didn't even see that. When I read this first, they just slipped that in there, but you don't know that they're free from any form of bias.
It sure sounds good.
Wow. Anyway, this is nothing new. It's the experimental section. It was always on the LSAT for forever before COVID. Now they're putting it back because they need to test out new test questions.
Yeah, because they haven't released new tests in a while because they haven't been able to test new content and see whether it's legit and put it into a new test. Going forward, the LSAT will consist of 4 sections, 3 scored sections, one each of logical reasoning, analytical reasoning, and reading comprehension. Analytical reasoning, by the way, is just games. And 1 unscored section, which will be either one of the 3 previously mentioned.
Any one of the 3, not either. You only use either when there's 2 things.
This is fun. You will not know which section is unscored, and it can occur at any point in your test. So you should do your best to work on all 4 sections. The LSAT will now include a 10-minute intermission between the second and third sections.
Okay, great. So they're adding back the experimental section, which isn't scored. You can't tell which one is experimental. Don't even try. They're also going to add a 10-minute break between section 2 and section 3. Now, here's all the complicated rules about the 10-minute break.
By the way, this new terminology, intermission, I don't feel like they used that before. I feel like they
I think you're right. Before. Yeah.
The intermission will be your opportunity to take a quick pause, use the restroom, perhaps eat or drink something or stretch your legs. But you must continue to follow the rules and not engage in any prohibited behaviors. Most importantly, you must return from the intermission at or before the required 10-minute time window expires. There will be an on-screen timer to assist you. You must indicate you are ready to check in for section 3 by selecting the Ready to Check In button before the time expires. Okay. You may not use any electronic devices such as a cell phone. You may not use your computer for any purpose other than your test session / intermission. You may not discuss the test with anyone. you may not work on your scratch paper.
What would be the possible point of working on your scratch paper? You're in between sections. You can't go back to the previous section.
You can't, and you don't know what's coming.
Why do they care?
Yeah. Stop writing. Stop it.
Stop completing the diagram for that logic game that you didn't finish in the previous section, even though you can't go back and answer any of those questions in the previous section. So who fucking cares what you do?
Are they worried that like maybe this is for like good test takers who then can take notes and then share the information afterward?
I suppose, but I mean, they can't stop you. You're going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
In the bathroom, you could do whatever you want.
Yeah. You could get on your phone.
You may not work on your scratch paper. Okay, but I could like go on the internet and say everything that I mean, you're prohibited from doing it, but they can't stop you from doing anything during that 10-minute break.
They really just need to have rule number 3. You may not discuss the test with anyone now or later.
Yeah, that would then obviate all these other rules, but yeah. Okay.
Although no test content is accessible during the intermission, you should behave exactly as you would if you were taking the LSAT or any other test in a physical classroom or testing center.
Any other test in a physical classroom or testing center.
Why bring in these other tests?
Business is it? Yeah.
Well, actually, when I took this one test, it was open book. So
yeah.
Not that open book would help, but hey, for example, colon, that's weird. Don't talk about the test with others. You already said that. Don't use electronic devices and don't engage in any prohibited behaviors as described in your candidate agreement.
Dear God, this could have been 1/10 as long.
Could have been one sentence.
Yeah.
During the break, don't talk to the test about anyone else. Thank you. Any prohibited behaviors observed by the proctor may result in a session termination, a score cancellation, and or a referral to LSAC's subcommittee on misconduct and irregularities in the admissions process. Okay, bold. It is absolutely critical that you return to your computer within the allotted 10 minutes.
That's bold and italics.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you know it's really
I was overwhelmed. I was overstimulated. I couldn't even see that as italicized. Failure to return within the 10-minute window will result in a cancellation and your test session will be terminated. So like in the previous paragraph, they told us what may happen. And in this paragraph, they're telling us it will happen. Okay, great. How does intermission work? Question mark, colon. At the completion of section 2, the exam will go into an intermission screen with a brief description of the 10-minute intermission. At the bottom of the screen, you will see a countdown timer and a ready to check in button. Once the intermission begins, you have up to 10 minutes to leave your testing area, use the restroom, eat or drink something, stretch, and get ready for the second half of your. Why
again with the full list of all the things that you might want to do on your break? What if I want to do push-ups? Am I allowed to do that? What if I want to?
I feel like they really want us to stretch. Like that's come up twice already.
They really want us to use the restroom too.
Yeah. It's an hour. It's an hour and a half to wait. Well, hold on. No, it's an hour and 10 minutes for the first 2 seconds. How badly do people have to go to the bathroom after an hour?
Yeah. Like if you have you ever sat through a movie before? Okay, then you're going to be fine. Like, and I get it. You probably got the jumbo Diet Coke. And so you probably have to get up to pee 4 times during the movie, but like, don't do that on the LSAT and you'll be fine.
Okay. So section 3 will not begin until the countdown clock expires. So you can't skip your break. You must click the ready to check in button before the intermission expires.
God damn it.
That was all bold and italicized. Once this button is clicked, you will be taken to a waiting room. Obviously a virtual one. At this point, your proctor will observe your test. Oh, wait, what? Resecure your testing environment so you can go on to section 3. If a test taker,
I mean, they're going to like do the same thing again that you did when you started, which was if you've got a laptop,
your camera.
Can you show your room? Whatever. It's going to be the same dumb shit. You're going to have to check in again, basically. Yep. But you have to hit the button before the time expires. But if you do hit the button, as it says later, you can't start early.
Okay. So they
Anyway.
continue in more wordiness. If a test taker fails to return and click the ready to check in button within the allotted time, they will not be allowed to finish their test and the session will be terminated. They've told us
Why?
this twice already.
Why? Why not automatically go to this waiting room and then the proctor talks to you and says, okay, are you ready to do this?
Yeah.
No. We
They
have a
have to
death
click
button
that button.
that
Yeah.
must be pressed. If you don't press the button, you lose.
So how many test takers do you think are going to sit there?
Many.
They're not going to go anywhere and they're going to just like, oops, shit. They're not going to push this button. And then they're going
to get auto canceled.
Yeah.
It's almost like they realize how much they've already realized that this is going to be a problem. And
So
now
this
they're
is why
sending
they're
out this
yelling at
long
you.
preemptive thing, hoping that people will press the button. I mean, the only news that I've gotten from this so far is that there's a 10-minute break and you have to press the button. Don't forget to press the button.
You have to push it. Yeah. It feels like a nuclear button almost. We know you may have questions about the online live remote proctored LSAT or how the intermission and check-in process will work. So we have prepared a series of frequently asked questions. Please take a moment to review them carefully if you are still reading this email. Whoa, okay. So next
It's a
paragraph.
long ass list. There's 11 frequently asked questions.
Here
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Does the intermission affect test takers with approved accommodations?
Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Test takers with approved disability-related test accommodations, such as additional break time or breaks between other test sections, will adhere to the allotted accommodations detailed in their letters.
In other words, maybe. If you've got accommodations, you've got accommodations. It's different rules. If you read your damn letter, you got special treatment. You're getting special treatment.
Gosh.
This doesn't apply to you. Hey, Ben, when does the intermission take place?
The intermission immediately follows the end of section 2 for all test takers.
Do I need to take the full 10 minutes?
Yes, you may come back to your seat and click the ready to check in button before 10 minutes has expired, but section 3 will not begin before the full 10-minute intermission is completed.
So there's
What's the point of this stupid button?
That doesn't do anything. It says ready to check in. And I have to press it because if I don't press it, it automatically cancels my test. So I must press the button. But if I press the button early, it doesn't do anything because section 3 will not begin before the full 10-minute intermission is completed.
This is a totally bullshit button.
It's a bullshit button.
You have to be back by the time the proctor comes online. That's all they should have done. They should have said, be back in your fucking seat before that proctor comes online at the 10 minute.
Because if you press it, it sounds like the proctor is just going to wait until the full 10 minutes over and then resecure your room anyway.
So the button is useless.
The button doesn't do anything except it's a death button if you don't push it. You must push the button.
Oh, so wait. So here's some LSAT Demon daily advice, maybe? Click it before you leave?
I don't think so, because now I'm worried that if I do click it before I leave, then the proctor might come back and look to like try to do your resecuring of your room, even though section 3 will not start until the full 10 minutes has elapsed. But if you press the button early and the proctor comes back and you're not there, I could just see the proctor being like, nope, they said they were ready, but they're not. So cancel. Irregularity. They're gone. Boom.
Yeah.
Cancel.
So it really depends on the proctor, I guess.
Don't press it until you're ready. Yeah. Go take your break, come back, press the stupid button.
4.
Ben, I'm not going to read the next one. What items and actions are prohibited during the admission? They already fully did. Ben, will the camera still be on during the intermission?
Yes, even though it is an intermission, the test session is still considered live and your camera and microphone must remain on.
So don't take your laptop into the shitter with you. Will my session still be monitored during the intermission?
Yes, even though it's an intermission, the test session is still considered live. As noted, you are permitted to step away from the computer and the camera in order to meet your personal needs, but must return within the allotted 10-minute window. Must is oddly bolded and italicized here. Nothing else is.
What happens upon returning from? Ben, what happens upon returning from the intermission?
Upon returning from intermission, you will need to click the Ready to Check In button to indicate to the proctor you are ready to continue. Prior to starting section 3, your proctor will re-secure your testing environment and recheck your computer settings. Your proctor may want to recheck your ID, so you should have it available when you return from the intermission. Once your testing environment has been rechecked, you may not leave the area.
Yeah, so don't hit the button early, because if the proctor
Yeah.
comes back immediately, then you're going to not get your break, but you also are going to have to still sit there for 10 minutes. Ben, what happens if I return after the allotted 10 minutes?
Well, I could guess the answer here, but I'll read theirs. If you have not returned to your seat and clicked the Ready to Check In button, how many times has Ready to Check In been mentioned here? Before the on-screen 10-minute timer reaches 0. So if you have not done that, your testing session will be terminated and will not be able to resume the test during the LSAT administration. Wow,
You're
that's
fucked.
unusually harsh. That
If
is
you don't press the
unusually
button, you're
harsh.
fucked. Yes. Ben, will I need to do a full check-in upon returning from intermission?
Oh man, I gotta go to sleep. Yes, the proctor will need to do a full rescan. So we've talked about resecuring, rechecking, and rescanning of your testing environment upon return from the intermission. Once the room has been rescanned, you should not leave the view of the camera, as that would require another rescan. Keep your government issued photo ID available, as it may be necessary for the proctor to verify it, as well as the settings on your computer prior to resuming the test.
Are we going to add a ready to check in button to the daemon?
I feel like
think
we
should.
I feel like we have to. After this episode, we're gonna add that button, and if they don't click it in the 10-minute time frame, we're gonna have a big red screen come up and say terminated test. Get the fuck out of here.
And if my test is terminated, can I reschedule and start from where I left off at the start of section 3?
I can tell you, without reading this answer, LSAC is going to say no to that. No, if your test is terminated at the end of intermission for a failure to return within the allotted time or other prohibited behaviors, you will not be able to resume testing or reschedule for a different time. It is very important that you return to your computer within the 10 minutes, the allotted 10 minutes, by the way, and follow the rules for what is allowed during test intermission.
And what if someone comes into my testing room during the intermission?
You should do everything possible to avoid having anyone come into your testing area during the intermission, just as you should avoid having anyone come into your testing area during any part of the test. If someone enters your testing area during the intermission, it may result in your test session being terminated. At a minimum, your test session will be flagged for review and possible cancellation. Incidents where another person enters your testing area inadvertently or for a very short period of time, and it can be determined there was no impact on test security and integrity, may be cleared after review, but it is far better to play it safe and avoid having anyone come into your testing area during any part of the test, including the intermission. Wow, that was a long sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know how many that was.
That was a lot. That was great.
63
okay, so
words.
Big news from LSAC. There's going to be a 10-minute break and you got to click the button. Definitely got to click the button. Other than that, there's nothing here, nothing to worry about. It's fine. We like to laugh about these ProctorU issues and all of the like drama with people. I mean, guaranteed somebody's going to fuck up the button and then they're going to email the show and then we'll be laughing about it on a future episode.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if you just look at the scoreboard, Ben, LSAT scores are way, way up over the past year.
Yeah.
And everybody has taken the LSAT online for the past year. So even though there's all these hassles and fuck ups sometimes with ProctorU, the vast majority of people are taking the test successfully with no problem. The people who have problems are really loud about it, and we're really loud about it. We like to laugh about it on the show. Shows, plural. So, it's going to be fine for everybody. It's no big deal. They added the experimental section back. There's going to be a little break. You're going to have to click the button and you're going to have to annoyingly let the proctor scan your room again. But they've got thousands of people doing this and, it's going to work out fine for just about everybody.
I'm sure that going online made the test easier for people, especially because there's only 3 sections, right? But one thing that I was just thinking about is that I feel like logical reasoning is the one that is the best predictor for law school, right? It seems the most relevant of the 3 sections in my mind. And yet that's the section that was decreased in weight and scores went up. So is there, like, has the test become, was that a section that was holding people back? I don't know.
I,
Anyways,
I don't know. I don't think so. I think if you ask most people why they suck at the LSAT, they're going to say games if they're like new.
they are going to say games at first, right? But then maybe they get
Yeah.
better and they just never quite close the gap with logical reasoning, and it ends up being their anchor in
I
a bad
suppose,
way.
although the people who can't ever close the gap on logical reasoning also tend to not be able to close the gap on reading comp. I mean, I've never
That's
seen
true.
anybody who's
That's
really good
true.
at reading comp who can't also smash logical reasoning.
Yeah.
I think that all 3 of the different sections are pretty good predictors of how you're going to do in law school. I think that they all test different things, slightly different things. But yeah, it is crazy that they changed the balance of the test and haven't really explained that or justified it at all. It's just like, that's how it is now.
Yeah. For all their self-consciousness about other things and bias, apparently. They made that change without much fanfare. Cool. If you have questions, email daily@lsatdemon.com. We love hearing from you. Thanks for listening.